So on this channel, I've talked about mobile horror games not once, but twice, and how they're really not scary at all. Some of the games that I played back then were more often than not really strange, and quite frankly, the games probably wouldn't even be able to scare a 10-year-old if they tried. However, despite the 2 uploads that I made in 2021, I still feel as though I haven't reviewed enough of these games, as oh boy, there are a lot of them. Now, while I am under the opinion that there are actually some good, decent mobile horror games out there, most fall somewhere along the lines of either halfway decent or downright horrible in every way. And this week, I want to play and explore some of those games. I've been thinking about making a part 3 to the series for a long time, and hey, those videos did really well, so why not talk about it again? So yeah, let's talk about even more bad mobile horror games. So for the first game, let's take a look at Entity: A Horror Escape, which is basically just a Slender clone, as you need to collect 8 objects to win the game. In the description, the game reads, Entity is a survival horror game set in a modern-day abandoned mansion. You woke up in some kind of a dungeon, and need to find a way to escape. You don't remember anything, and there's something in the house that will do anything in its power to prevent you from leaving. That something being a black-haired girl with a white dress. Going to the menu, it has just about everything you expect from a mobile game, like random challenges, in-game objects to buy, and random credits littered all over the map. The game also shows you a difficulty option, with whichever one you choose being the object that you have to collect. I decided to choose easy mode for recording purposes. Starting the game, we spawn in some random prison cell under a mansion. We learn the basics here like collecting keys, using physics, and solving puzzles to unlock doors. This will be useful as just about 80% of all the doors in this game are simply locked. Once out of the dungeon, the game now starts for real. There's not really too much that this game does different that other horror games have already done. There's of course the obvious 8 objects that we have to collect, with some of them either being right in front of you, or having to be collected by unlocking doors or solving puzzles. There's also a flashlight in this game, with batteries being scattered around the map, but the battery dies so quickly that there's really no reason to have the flashlight out for more than 10 seconds. If the monster sees you, then you can go in these various lockers to hide from it, to which it will suddenly develop Alzheimer's and instantly forget you exist. The game also gives you 3 lives in case you die from the entity. This is all nice and stuff, but the game also tends to play unskippable mobile game ads upon each death, so that was kind of annoying.
Those fake ads really drive you mad, huh? The game looks so fun in the ads.
Strangely, unlike most horror games, you can't actually crouch in this game, so if you're in the same room with a monster, then you won't be able to duck behind cover to hide from it. Which is weird too, because you'd think it'd make the game a little bit more dynamic, but don't worry, the monster's AI in this game is very stupid. As long as the monster doesn't have a clear sighting of you, it won't chase you. However, it does tend to hear you, as each time you collect an object, the monster will go to where you collected it. This would be all nice and stuff if the rooms let you have an escape route, but most of them don't, as most rooms in the map are a one-way cramped room. It also doesn't help that the spooky girl tends to linger in one area for a really long time. As well as having generic gameplay, the game also has generic lore, where throughout the map, pages on the wall talk about a spooky girl and their experience with it. But yeah, for the gameplay side of things, that's about it. On the App Store, the game has 649 ratings that rounds up to a 4.3, with the reviews being generally good with the game, saying things like very good game, scary and addictive, and even the best mobile horror game on iOS, which in my eyes is far from the truth. It doesn't really attempt to innovate anything new to the gameplay, and it's all around just really generic. I will give the game credit though for being one of the few mobile games that actually has a correct aspect ratio, even if it is a little stretched. But other than that, this game doesn't have much to offer. So the next game we'll be playing is Horror Clown House Mystery, a game that has you hide from the spooky Pennywise as you try to unlock hundreds of doors. Test yourself against darkness. Let the new Horror Clown Escape game give you goosebumps. No, I don't think it will. So, starting the game, it kinda reminded me of another clown game that I played back when I made the first horror game video. There is so much bad stuff in this game to talk about in such a short amount of time. So, let me try to dissect the game from start to finish. Starting the game, you basically wake up in a random bedroom in a strange house, and you have to find various keys in order to get out. The first problem is that it's just boring, repetitive gameplay. Like many games that came before this, the game has a cycle of just going around finding keys to unlock doors, only for those doors to harbor another key that you have to use to unlock more doors. Having to unlock a door in your horror game isn't that bad of a concept. It's practically required. Do it too much, however, and you start to make everyone that plays your game really bored. And of course, there's also the deal with the spooky clown. The clown is questionable at best. Its AI is extremely glitchy, and the clown tends to walk into walls as if it was drunk. The game gives you 3 difficulties: baby mode, dark mode, and adult mode. But no matter which one you choose, the clown will pretty much be the exact same. In its idle stage, it is really slow and can barely walk faster than a literal snail. Due to this, the gameplay kind of just revolves around you waiting for the clown to leave a room. And it gets even stranger too, because for some reason when the clown is using the stairs, I guess it just can't detect you. So if you're on the stairs, you're pretty much safe from the clown. But if you're not, have fun having the clown detect you from a mile away, as it seems that it can see you no matter how safe you are. Are you behind the clown? It sees you. Are you in a room minding your own business? It sees you. Are you literally behind layers of walls from the clown? Doesn't matter, it somehow sees you. And when the clown does eventually spot you, it will continue to run after you no matter how far away you are from it. Now, believe it or not, I think that having your monster have similar AI to this is pretty serviceable, just as long as the layout of the map is pretty good. But as you'll soon learn, it's nowhere even close to that. The layout of the map consists of 3 layers of hallways all on top of each other, consisting of just the main lobby, upstairs, and the basement, with the only thing connecting the 3 is a singular stairway, where, you guessed it, the clown will be for most of the time. Because of this, there is very little room to move around and try to hide from the clown. There aren't even any lockers or closets to hide in, and combined with 80% of the doors being pretty much locked, yeah, you have yourself an awful game. But whatever, maybe the story might be good. So what's the lore in this game? Well, according to Horror Clown Mystery House, you are locked up in a Botan's house under the threat of Pennywise Horror Clown. You were looking for your partner, and now you have to solve the mystery of this house and find yourself an escape. Great. Also, keep in mind that there is no kind of partner anywhere you see throughout the game. You're just by yourself with nothing more than a spooky clown. Going down in the basement, not only is there some kind of weird hospital lab going on, but there is also a broken car that you have to fix by refueling it. At first, I assumed that you just had to escape by driving this car out of here, as there did appear to be some scenery behind these sheets, or at least, what little there was of it. But after unlocking hundreds of doors and finding some gas, we refuel the car, yes, but then we escape by accessing a keypad. What? So what was the purpose of all that if we didn't even need to drive the car? Turns out you just went by unlocking a door with a generic code pad. How wonderful. Looking at the game in the App Store, the game has just 3 reviews with a 4 out of 5 star rating. There's also a lot of other quirks and glitches in this that makes the game that much worse. There's a lot of visual glitches that let you peer out into the void. The key models that you use to unlock the doors are all the exact same, and you can pick up and drop objects in this game that apparently attracts the clown, even though it doesn't make any noise at all. There's also this option right here that lets the monster not see you for a solid minute, of course by watching an ad first. Now, I was never planning to use this, but like all the flaws I just said previously, like the really bad layout and the strange AI of the clown, I pretty much just gave up and had to use this a handful of times in order to not die. And hey, it was pretty handy at times. It's just a shame that it's really cheesy. Not only are there a lot of keys in this map that you have to collect, but there's also strangely a lot of bullets, even though there's no gun to shoot the clown with. So why is this here? Maybe I missed a gun somewhere along the map, but yeah, that's about it. There is very little that this game does good, and it's all around just a really bad game. So if you're looking for a horror game to play, don't play this one. So the next game we'll be playing is Insomnia. Part of the horror games, Insomnia is the best. This is a survival horror game with mechanics point and click. This is not a first-person shooter. Thanks for letting me know. So basically, the lore of the game is that you are sleep deprived and that a spooky penguin monster looking thing is in your house. The game starts with a father figure talking to you on their phone thingy. He tells you about how he's aware you have insomnia and decides to give you a flashlight with batteries in them. So instead of trying to fix your sleep deprived son's problem, you just give him a flashlight with infinite batteries to use. That's kind of strange, but whatever. So beginning the game, it actually turns out that this is just a FNAF ripoff. As in, you basically just stay in one spot and try to make the monster go away. The time begins at 12 AM and you need to survive until 6. Nonetheless, being a FNAF clone, it adds a couple new elements to the game. The batteries in your flashlight when turned on die really quickly, and the monster can only come into your room if you don't have your flashlight on him. However, thanks to your father, there are an infinite number of batteries that can be found in your drawer. Upon taking it, you're stuck in an animation for about 5 seconds. So the meta just consists of you tapping the screen really fast to avoid the batteries dying, only for you to grab a battery when the time is right. Now, unfortunately for you, your house contains a spooky monster, with the monster, like I said, being some kind of weird penguin thing. The goal naturally is to make sure that it doesn't get in your room. It can get to you either through these doors, the closet, or behind your desk. And that's pretty much the entire game for the next hour. I mean, other than this game being a FNAF clone, there isn't really much else to talk about it. The reviews of this game occasionally coincide with each other, some saying it's really hard and others saying it's not that much of a challenge. But personally, I didn't really play far enough to know whether this game was hard or not. But I will say, for the first 3 nights that I did play it, there wasn't really much going on. So yeah, although the game brings in a few new elements, it's nothing really more than a FNAF clone. I will give this game credit for not having any pop-up ads, but that's about it. So unless you're really into FNAF ripoffs, I wouldn't really play this. So the next horror game we'll be playing is Neighbor Survival, a game where you go into someone's house and try to hide from the spooky neighbor. Sound familiar? Yeah. So, not even in the game, and it's already apparent that this guy's English is extremely broken. Reading the description, the first sentence reads, "Play epic spooky, evil adventure, and plan escape from horror of neighbor." If anyone can accurately translate this for me, that would be nice. So with that out of the way, let's now play this game. Beginning the level, the story says that some neighbor bought a house recently but hasn't been seen since. So naturally, you being the Chad here, you go out to investigate who exactly moved there. And by that, I mean break into their house unannounced and explore their place. Now, like that clown game that I played a few minutes ago, this game also has too many problems to talk about in such a short amount of time. So let me see if I can easily analyze this game. Right, so currently the goal is to go to your neighbor's house, which is thankfully not hard to find due to the green LED flares. These flares sort of act as a path, as every time you get close to them, it reveals another one, eventually leading you to your destination. This is all handy and stuff, but there's also another problem that this game has too. And that is the general weirdness of the maps. See, most of the levels in this game are really huge, but with that being said, about 90% of it you don't even need to go to. For example, your first spawn starts you in some kind of Silent Hill 2 city.
I know the truth.
With Hello Neighbor type graphics and all around just being really expansive. Despite this, the game just wants you to turn 2 streets and eventually into the house. And that's the whole map. So why make the map really huge if most of it is just wasted space? I could literally avoid the green flares and go on my own in the city for a couple minutes. It also doesn't help that the game doesn't exactly run the smoothest, which is most likely because of all the unneeded space you need to render in this game. Continuing the story, you go into this guy's house and explore some of the rooms, only for you to get kidnapped by the spooky old man. Loading into the next level, we now spawn in some kind of dungeon and we have to escape it. As according to the dialogue, the neighbor beat you up last night and put you in his basement. So the neighbor is kind of strange. Its AI really only ever patrols 2 spots and is generally very oblivious to you. When he sees you, if you run away about 5 feet, he will no longer chase you. I mean, I guess he's an old man, but still. And also, what kind of basement is this? We seem to be in some kind of 2-story ancient library with no roof in sight. The game also tends to suffer from having a lot of clutter everywhere. I guess in the lore, the neighbor is some kind of hoarder, as no matter what room I went in, there was guaranteed to be about 20 different objects in it, most of them having collisions on them, so getting around the rooms were kind of a pain. But not only was there clutter in each room, there were also various doors that just straight up made you fall into the void, so that was interesting. Anyways, as you can imagine, the rest of the game is just you completing generic tasks to go into the next level, like collecting keys, following the lights, and even follow the neighbor at one point, which was pretty much impossible since he was no longer oblivious here, and he would sometimes detect you from 5 feet behind him. Eventually, after a little while, the game reveals us that the old guy has kidnapped many hostages, to which we have to rescue them by killing the neighbor with chemicals. Like the last map, this one also seems to suffer from just pointless rooms. I spent a good 5 minutes walking around this map doing nothing, only for me to realize that you just need to click on this campfire next to the spawn to kill the old guy. So again, why make 90% of your map's layout useless if the objective was just right next to you all along? It's also worth noting that we can't just crawl through this window to rescue the hostages. I guess not. So anyways, after clicking on this fire, you kill the old guy. Don't worry, that's normal. And now you should be able to rescue the hostages, only you can't since the doors are still locked. Now, I assume that maybe somewhere around the map was some kind of key, but no. Looping around the map 10 times, I just couldn't find any supposed key. So I'm just gonna have to leave this game here. Again, we can always just go through this unbarricaded window right here, but I guess your character just doesn't feel like it. Looking at Neighbor Survival on the App Store, despite the game being out for over 3 years, it only ever got 3 ratings throughout its whole life, all of which seem to rate it a 5-star for whatever reason. But yeah, the game was all around just kind of terrible. The gameplay was rather tedious, there was clutter just about everywhere, and 90% of the map's layout was basically pointless. So don't play this game if you're actually sane. So the next game we'll be playing is City of Breach Monsters. Can you get the job done and escape the city? In the darkest security city, try to run away from the Breach Monster and the scary Chica. Enjoy. Okay, so the first thing to point out is, what the heck am I witnessing? Why is there a huge Glamrock Freddy out on the streets trying to kill me? I don't even know what to say in terms of what little lore there is here. You're just put into a city and have to run away from a 50-foot FNAF robot. The pathfinding on the animatronic is extremely terrible, even worse than the clown in the Mystery House game. For some reason when it sees you, it starts to run in random directions, getting stuck on anything and everything around it. What's even more baffling is that it can somehow kill you up to a mile away. The robot isn't even anywhere near you when it tries to kill you. It just stands still and you somehow die. The objective in this game is also extremely confusing. The goal is, let's solve the mystery. You're given a flashlight and that's it. What does that mean? Where am I supposed to go in this huge city? I assume that maybe the huge bloom effect is where you needed to go, but going closer to it, it's just random lights that lead to nowhere. There's also, of course, hundreds of other bugs in this game too, like being able to walk through the buildings, and the general weird textures splattered on the ground and city. Naturally, with no radar or clear objective, I couldn't find where I needed to go. There's just nothing to do in this game, other than run away from a giant Glamrock Freddy. To add insult to injury, you're also incredibly slow in this game. The reviews on this are kind of what you expect from a game like this, saying things like garbage FNAF game, kinda trashy, and hot garbage. I don't know what else to say about City of Breach Monsters. Even after finishing the game, I still was left baffled at what I just played. It felt like I lost a third of my brain cells during my playthrough. I'm gonna give this game the benefit of the doubt, and that this must have been some kind of weird twisted joke. And also, this game is somehow half a gigabyte big. How? This game is just a downright fever dream. I can't really tell you how confusing this game was unless you play it yourself. Here's some live audio of me playing the game for the first time. What the heck? What are you doing? What? How? Okay, wait, what? Okay, you know what? Just screw this game, my god. And that's the last game I had on the list. Thank you very much for watching this video. I know making too many parts to a series is kind of milking to some extent, but even after those 2 uploads, I still feel like I haven't talked about enough of these crappy pieces of garbage. So yeah, I hope you don't mind a part 3 to this. If you're new to this channel and watch this video first, it isn't vital or lore-breaking to not watch part 1 and 2, but if you plan on sticking around, I recommend looking at the other 2 parts I made on this channel. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks for staying to the end of this video, and I'll see you sometime in the future. Oh, and also, thank you a lot for 64,000 subscribers. That's a pretty big number. Thanks.